I have a little bit less of a puppy brain this week, but I have the usual brain fog, so who knows how this video is going to go. Oh, hello. Hello. Oh, lovely kisses. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Where are you going to go? You're going to sit on Daddy's lap while we do the video? Okay. Okay, are we going down? Well, that was not appropriate, was it? So let's try that again. Welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video, to the chaos that's going to ensue with filming with a cute puppy. It has been chaos, hasn't it, darling? Yes, and that's what I want to talk about today. The chaos that is my life. Hey folks, it's Finn. So this is a chaotic start to a video, isn't it? So welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video. It's very, very kind of you. And if you're tuning in for the very first time, this is how it is. This is just about how my videos go. If you watch my old videos and you say, oh, wow, these are nicely polished, aren't they? It all went downhill from there. But downhill is uphill, really, because I'm preferring these videos like this, and so are lots of other people. So, hey, welcome to the chaos that is my life, the beautiful chaos that's now been added to. It's chaotic because I have ME/CFS, and that's just what life is with chronic illness. And I've added a puppy to the mix, and that's made it extra chaotic. But also what's made it extra chaotic as well, which is what I want to talk about today, is coming down off antidepressants, which seems mad, doesn't it? Really mad, considering the state of things. But as I've explained in previous videos, don't go back and watch them now. I will link you to them at the end of this video. But I've been tapering off Venlafaxine, and I'm now done. And I wanted to talk about that today and just have a little bit of a catch up on how that's going. That sound is him chewing something to keep him busy. And my brain's now going to go pop because I'm confused, because I've just gone off tangent. Yes, so as you all know, I started tapering down off Venlafaxine at the beginning of the year because it's been confirmed now that I do have orthostatic intolerance, which is obviously very common as part of ME/CFS, but I have it to quite a severe level, really. It's looking like I have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I have all the clear markings. I got a preliminary diagnosis. I failed on the stand to sit test, but I have all the other stuff going on. So dysautonomia, orthostatic intolerance, all of that going on. So I should be trialing some medications. But first, my specialist wanted me off Venlafaxine because it is known to it can cause some heart symptoms or make them worse. And now a lot of people got kind of confused when I talked about coming off Venlafaxine, thinking that was causing my ME. And no, that's not why I'm coming off it. It's because if you have got some heart symptoms going on, then Venlafaxine can actually make them worse. It's not that it's thinking that Venlafaxine is causing them, because all of my heart symptoms actually started way before the Venlafaxine. But it could well be that the Venlafaxine is kind of making them worse or not helping them, if that makes sense. So it's very sensible that I come off the Venlafaxine before my specialist then tries me on some of the other medication that's used for POTS and orthostatic intolerance to try and make some of the symptoms worse. Now, the symptoms I get around my orthostatic intolerance and POTS are dizziness, sweating, heart palpitations, lots of stuff, really. So the most problematic, really, is my dizziness and my heart palpitations, and the migraines. I get such awful migraines. Can you put that on your mat? Good boy. Head. Can't concentrate on two things going at once when there's chewing and me trying to think. So yes, so we had a plan starting in January for me to come off Venlafaxine very slowly. It's one of the worst antidepressants to come off, and I can now confirm that. which is why I don't like to give it to people these days, really, because it is so problematic to come off. We did it really slowly, so I was on 150 milligrams, coming down by 37.5 milligrams every 2 weeks, so really, really slowly. And I got awful brain zaps. Really, if you've seen those awful fly zappers that like flies buzz into and they go and they kill them, it's awful, awful, awful. That's how my brain is. Actually, it's like that's how my whole body is. So like as soon as you move your head, you just get like, oh, it's just vile. It's horrible. Extra exhaustion, extra dizziness, extra nausea, extra everything. So I've actually taken longer. So rather than like change the dose every 2 weeks, I've been changing it every 3 weeks because I just couldn't cope with the brain zaps. So I finished my last Venlafaxine on the Sunday, and I started to cross over to my new antidepressant, escitalopram. So on the very last week, where I was on 37.5 milligrams of Venlafaxine, my last 37.5, I then went on to 5 milligrams of citalopram, so the very last week. And so now, as of, what day is it today? Monday. So not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, I completely finished Venlaflaxine completely. So for this last week, I've had awful brain zaps again, because it seems that as soon as the dosage changed, that first week, the brain zaps are the worst, and then the second week, they settle. So last week, coming off Venlafaxine completely, they've been the worst, and over this weekend, they've calmed a little. So now I'm just on escitalopram. So physically, it is definitely the worst experience I've ever had. You want to come back up? Good boy. The worst experience I've ever had physically coming off an antidepressant. But mentally, I'm actually all right. My depression, mood has actually been okay. And see, this is a strange one, right? It's a strange one for me because this is something I said I want to talk about in more detail, because it kind of links back to an older video of mine where I talked about coming off sertraline because of my inability to cry. Now, I'm somebody who struggles to cry anyway. This is something that's very deep-rooted and very much linked to trauma for me, and this is something I'm working with my therapist. I've worked with it with various therapists before. I struggle to cry. I can feel it there and it gets stuck. Now, this is due to something that happened to me in childhood, and I know that. And I know that the ability to cry is there because it's happened before. I accessed it for my first year of recovery of alcoholism. I cried for the first year in all of the rooms of AA. I sobbed, and then it shut off again. So I know I can cry, but I'm really sensitive to antidepressants. So as soon as I'm on a relatively moderate dose of antidepressants, my ability to cry is shut off. And so now some antidepressants are worse than others for me. Sertraline was one of the worst. It completely numbed me out and stopped me being able to cry at all. Complete blunting effect. Darling, if you're going to stay up here, I want you to go behind me so you don't chew the thingy, okay? Let me just give him his bone. Sorry about this. Good boy. Have that here. Good boy. So yeah, that was the most blunting effect I ever had, so I came off it. Other ones are less blunting, so I still can't access crying. So I've noticed as I'm coming down off the Venlaflaxine, I can feel, I'm still not crying, but I can feel closer to it. And now over this last week, I've definitely got moments where I've almost cried. And so you might say maybe my mood's lower, but I don't think that my mood's lower. I just think because the dose of antidepressant has come down, I'm less blunted. So I don't think that's so much to do with my mood. I think that's more my ability to access crying like everybody else does. Because in me, I'm just not able to cry. So I don't think my mood's affected. And I think the reason possibly that my mood hasn't been so badly affected this time coming down off an antidepressant is I'm really well supported. I have a therapist in place, and I wouldn't have come down off Venlafaxine had I not. I had this therapist in place because of what happened with PIP benefit last year, where it sent me off the rails. And lucky I have that in place. And I think because of the mindset I've got of why I'm coming down off Venlafaxine, because of the hope that this new specialist has given me with the POTS treatment, I think that's helped to keep my mind upbeat as well. Now, in terms of the anxiety, because if anything, I think the antidepressant medications I take help me more maintain my anxiety than anything else, because it's my anxiety that really does have a huge impact. I haven't noticed a huge amount of difference, but that's actually quite difficult to tell as well, because having puppy Pip, I've actually talked to more people in the last 3 weeks than I've talked to in the last year, because of course when you've got a puppy, people come up to you, and I actively avoid people when I'm out. And again, this is something that, I've made lots of videos about, and people are often really surprised when they know that that's my pants you're biting. Thank you. I'm a public speaker, that I'm as anxious as I am. But I'm very good at public speaking. I'm very good at meeting with clients, like on Zoom and what have you, because it's scripted. When it comes to me meeting people off the cuff, without a script, if social interactions came with a script, I'd be all right. But they don't, and I just don't. I don't like people. It sounds bizarre, doesn't it? I know, but I just find all of that so awkward and anxiety provoking. I'm just such a ball of anxiety. I really am, really am. So it's just something I don't do, and this is one of the reasons why we've got this puppy. And if you saw last week's video, I was talking a bit about the whole reasons why we got this puppy. And I'm usually very good at pushing myself out of my comfort zone to challenge my anxiety, but it's something I haven't been doing over the last couple of years because it's been out of my control, because of having chronic illness and not being able to get out, but also because pushing myself into stressful situations when you've got a chronic illness is kind of counterintuitive, because it just makes me poorly. So I've kind of put my pushing myself out of my comfort zone on hold because I'm picking my battles. So having puppy Pip and going out with Chris, and suddenly all these people are talking to us, I've honestly talked to more people. So yes, my anxiety has been much higher, but that's more because I'm talking to more people. So at the moment, it's really, really hard to tell. And at the moment, I'm very supported. Like I say, I don't really do anything on my own. I've got a therapist, and Chris takes me everywhere because of my physical limitations. Sorry. So it's really, really hard to tell at the moment. But based on the fact that it's more physically affected me than mentally, I'm going to stay on the low dose of escitalopram I'm on at the moment, which is only 5 milligrams, and just see how I do, because I feel all right. Because I just want to get started on the POTS meds and just see now if we can get the other symptoms down. I mean, how are we doing this morning? My heart rate currently speaking to you is at 115 beats a minute sat here. Which is not right, is it? No, pup, it's not right. How long are we talking this morning? Oh, we're not too bad, 17 minutes. I want to try and keep it a little bit shorter today, just because it's a lot of editing as well. So yeah, in a synopsis, weaning off Venlafaxine was shockingly, appallingly awful. But it's March. What's the date today? It's March. My watch has suddenly decided to vibrate as I'm doing this. So it's March the 6th, and it's over. It's done. But it has been a rocky few months. I mean, bad timing really, wasn't it? But there's no way around doing it. So I've come off Venlafaxine and managed a puppy in the last few weeks. My goodness. I'm just going to congratulate myself for a minute for managing that. I'm hoping now it's going to get a little bit easier going forward. Okay, the next step, trying new meds, could get a bit rocky as well. We don't know. So there you go. That sums up and ends this first stage of the new medication change, coming off Venlafaxine. If there is anything else you want to know, let me know. I will do as promised and do a catch-up video about the old video, the sertraline, because people have asked me about that. But if there's anything else you want to know about tapering off venlafaxine, switching from venlafaxine to sertraline, please do let me know, and I will happily answer your questions. Just pop them below as per usual. Always happy to help. Right, before I sign off, I have my usual announcements and shout outs for you lovely people. Thank you all for being so lovely about Pip and for following on Instagram and putting up with my puppy spam. I'm so grateful that you love him as much as I do, because I cannot stop posting pictures of him because he's just brilliant, gorgeous, and he's driving me bonkers, but I love him, which is good. Okay, so I just want to say a massive, massive, massive thank you to Jet, who has just swapped his YouTube membership from YouTube to Ko-fi. Thank you very much for doing that. You all know I love Ko-fi, but again, however you want to support me, it's fine. YouTube or Ko-fi, it's fine, but you know I just prefer Ko-fi because it's just a great platform, so big up to Ko-fi. And thank you very much for my latest people who have donated over on Ko-fi. That's a big thank you to Katie Ty, who's left me a donation, to Claire Lawrence, who says thank you for my story. It's very uplifting. It's lovely. I'm so grateful when people leave me a donation and leave me a little message as well. Big thank you to Deb Mansbridge, who has joined recently, and I think I forgot to say this last week. Deb also left me a coffee donation and said thank you for all the updates on Pip. Deb lives with MECFS as well and says it's the pits. It is the pits, absolutely. And Deb has a cat called Marley. So a big hello to Deb and your cat Marley. Thank you very much for your lovely donations, everybody. I also want to say a massive, massive, massive thank you to Thomas, who brought something in my shop and who just sent me a really, really lovely message of thank you for it. And I really appreciate that, because Thomas's message really kind of just acknowledged the difficulty I must have had. And you'll know what I mean if you've looked at my Ko-fi page and you know the resources I put up there. It was just really nice to get the message and to have it acknowledged how difficult it must have been to put these resources up. Because the resources I have up are incredibly personal, but I know the value they have to others, and so I decided to put them up. So to have somebody message me and just tell me how much they appreciate them and how much they valued them means the world. So thank you so much, Thomas, for that kind appreciation. Thank you so much, everybody, for your kind donations and your appreciation of my content. It just really does mean the world when the content I make is valued. It really, really does mean the world. It really, really, really does. I'm so appreciative. I also want to say a massive thank you as well. I won't name you, of course, because it's a little bit different. But recently I've, because you know I used to do coaching and mentoring. Unfortunately, at the moment, that's still not something that's possible for me to do over Zoom. I just can't really commit to that. So instead, yeah, sweetheart, I've been offering email mentoring, so people can email me in a question and then I can take my time to reply. Do it that way so that it's a bit more flexible for me. And actually a lot of people are saying they prefer it that way because it's a bit easier for them to do it that way. So I've had a couple of people use this service and it seems to be going well. So thank you very much for using that and for the feedback you've given me on that. I'm really glad that that's an option I can now offer. So it's all about flexibility, isn't it, when you have chronic illness? And I think there's a lot of people out there who have chronic illness or have just certain ways of being that this works well with. So, you know, it's all about finding what works for us and working with our strengths and ways of being, doesn't it? So hop over to my Ko-fi page. I'll put the link up. Never know which way, if that is something that interests you. But yeah, big shout out and big love to everybody. I'm sure I had something else to tell you, but I can't remember what it was now. There was something I had to tell you and I can't remember what it was. No, it's gone. Pip, Pip. Pip, Pip. Do you want to come and say goodbye? Do you want to come and say hello and goodbye? Or are you busy? Come here. Come and say hello. Look, do you want to say something? Do you want to say, hi everybody, and thank you for being so lovely on Instagram and saying how cute I am? No, I'm too busy biting Daddy. Yes, too busy biting Daddy. He's growing rapidly. Right, any comments, messages, as usual, pop them below. I do take a long time these days to reply, but I do get round to it eventually, I promise. It just takes me a while. Thanks for your patience in the meantime. Big love to you all. Have a great week, and I will see you next week for something else. I'm not quite sure what it'll be. Never know what it'll be. That's Daddy's finger. Love you all. Take care of yourselves.
So talking more majestic